Hi, I'm Andy Aladort, and welcome to Guitar World's Ultimate Guide to Rock Guitar. In this instructional DVD, I'll be demonstrating many of the guitar techniques which relate to rock, such as rhythm guitar, lead guitar, power chording, basic theory, how to write riffs, soloing techniques like string bending and vibrato, fretboard tapping, picking techniques like sweep picking and harmonics, and whammy bar. In other words, everything you'll need to know to become a proficient rock guitarist. All right, first thing, let's get tuned up. This guitar is tuned to standard tuning at concert pitch. Here's the low E. Here's the A. The D. The G. The B. And the high E. All right, let's begin with basic rhythm guitar. We're going to start with what are known as open chord voicings. Sometimes these are referred to as cowboy chords. They're the most basic chords on the guitar, and they are very useful, and they are used all the time in all different kinds of rock songs. All right, let's begin. Our first chord is an open position E major chord. I have my middle finger on the second fret of the A string, ring finger second fret of the D string, index finger first fret of the G string. All right, our next open position chord is A major. Index finger second fret of the D, middle finger second fret of the G, ring finger second fret of the B. All those fingers have to be kind of jammed in there at the same fret. Sometimes this chord is fretted with what's known as an index finger bar. A bar chord is when you use one finger to fret more than one string at a time. In this case, I'm flattening out my index finger to fret the D, G, and B string all at the second fret. When I play the A chord that way, it's more difficult to get the open high E string to ring in the chord. It's possible, but it's not mandatory. Our next chord is an open position D major chord. Index finger second fret of the G, ring finger third fret of the B, middle finger second fret of the high E. Our next chord is a G major open position chord. Middle finger third fret of the low E, index finger second fret of the A, and ring finger third fret of the high E. This chord can also be fretted with the ring finger third fret of the low E, middle finger second fret of the A, and the pinky third fret of the high E. Our next chord is an open position C major chord. Ring finger third fret of the A, middle finger second fret of the D, index finger first fret of the B. And our last chord is not actually a true open position chord, but it's a chord that is used very commonly with these other open position chords, and it's extremely useful. This is an F chord, and I'm doing something that's known as putting the fifth in the bass. We're going to get into that later. I'll explain what that means. The way this chord is played, ring finger third fret of the A string, pinky third fret of the D, middle finger second fret of the G, and the index finger is barring across the top two strings, B and high E string, at the first fret. One more time, our open position chords E, A, D, G, C, and F. Okay, even though these are the most basic major chord forms on the guitar, there are countless rock songs that utilize these exact chords. Everything from roots rock to rockabilly, hard rock, and heavy metal. We're going to begin our examination of using these chords by talking about strumming patterns. Okay, let's begin with what is known as a quarter note downstroke. What a quarter note is most rock music is played in 4/4 time, which means there's 4 beats in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, as the beats go by. And when you play the guitar, you could strum with a downward stroke across all the strings for every one of those downbeats, for every one of those quarter notes. Using a G chord, that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's very important, as basic as this is, to learn to play these quarter note downstrokes in time very evenly. Because what happens is, as you play, you will find that your right hand is your timekeeper. And that's going to keep the beat, and that's going to make what you play sound like it's in time, and especially if you're playing with a band, sound like you're playing along with the band properly. So make sure as you strum, you can feel the beat. Some guitar players like to think about it as almost like they're punching the beat each time, each one of those downbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that way you will play a strong rhythm guitar part that sounds clear and is in time. It's very rare that a guitar part will be played with all quarter note downstrokes all the time. So let's incorporate another strumming pattern. This would be an 8th note strumming pattern. 8th notes there are 8 beats to the bar. Our quarter notes are still 1, 2, 3, 4, but in between those beats, you have what's known as upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and, those are 2 8th notes representing the first beat. 1 and 2 and, 4 8th notes representing the first 2 beats, etc. On the guitar for strumming, we will play those upbeats, those ands, 1 and, with an upstroke on the guitar. That's played like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The last type of strumming pattern we're going to use is what's known as 16th note strumming. What a 16th note is, as the name implies, there are 16 of them in each bar of 4/4. So there are 4 16th notes for each of the 4 beats. So for each beat, when we had quarter notes, we just had 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th notes were 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 beats per each beat, per each quarter note. With a 16th note, we have 4 accents for each quarter note. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So the way to do that on the guitar is we have to go down, up, 1E and a for each beat as it progresses. And that sounds like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. As you will see, as we go through all of our rhythm guitar parts in each section of this DVD, that the rhythm guitar parts incorporate all 3 of these strumming patterns: quarter notes, 8th notes, and 16th notes in different combinations. All right, this first example is going to use 3 different open position chords, G, C, and F. And strumming-wise, I'm going to use a combination of downstroke quarter notes and down and up 8th notes. This example is played in the style of sort of Beatles, R&B, soul, early rock and roll. 1, 2, 3, and. All right, in this next example, I'm going to be strumming in a constant eighth note movement with my strumming hand, which is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to incorporate a dead string hit or chug, muted string sound in the middle of the strumming. So what happens is the first beat is eighth notes, down, up, but then the next downstroke on beat 2 is muted. And the way I do that is I release finger pressure with the fret hand, and also when I come down with the pick with the right hand, my right hand palm comes down on the strings almost simultaneously to deaden the sound of the strings. It also gives a percussive effect that accentuates the beat of the song. This example is played sort of a 60s rock, Creedence Clearwater Revival style of rock. 1, 2, 3, and. All right, there's one other thing about that strumming pattern. After I did that dead string hit, and it was followed by an upstroke, I allow the strings to ring through the next downbeat. So I end up doing 2 upstrokes in a row there, so it's like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, like that. So when you play that in time, it sounds like this. All right, this next example is going to be played in sort of a psychedelic rock, classic rock style, and it utilizes the chords D, A, and E. 1, 2, 3, 4. What you want to make sure you're going to do when you're playing an example like that is switch smoothly from chord to chord. Keep the right hand going in that strumming pattern, which is a combination of eighth notes and 16th notes. Ding, 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 digga, ding, 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 digga, ding, 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 like that. But make sure the left hand, the fretting hand, is firmly switching from D to A to E as clearly as possible. Another thing you can do when you play this example is you can use a technique known as palm muting. And what palm muting is, it's a right hand strumming hand technique where as you strum, you lightly rest the edge of your palm against the strings down by the bridge saddles. So instead of a chord sounding like this, it'll sound like this. And it makes for a percussive sound similar to the dead string, muted string hit, but you can still hear the pitches of the chord. So as I'm strumming, I have my edge of my palm leaning on those strings the entire time. Okay, here's this example played with palm muting. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, this next example is played more slowly. It's using the chords D, C, and G. This is a time-honored chord progression in all kinds of music, but played in this way, it recalls the sound of bands like Traffic and the Allman Brothers and even early Led Zeppelin. You don't have to be super specific about it. It's like this. See what's happening is when, as I strum 16th notes, some single notes get picked in there, and you shouldn't worry about it. You should just make it as a natural part of the strumming movement as you can. All right, here's the example. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when I played that example, I used an effect called a tube rotosphere, made by Hughes and Kettner. Simulates the sound of a rotating speaker like a Leslie. I had it on the slow setting. That's the fast setting. And it lends itself well to that sort of psychedelic 60s sound. All right, in this next example, I'm going to use a slightly different form of a G open position chord. Instead of playing it like this, as I have been, I'm going to use my ring finger to fret the 3rd fret of the B string, sounds a D, and my pinky on the high E string at the 3rd fret, along with the other finger's 2nd finger, middle finger 3rd fret of the 6th string, index finger 2nd fret of the A string, 5th string. And what happens with this chord, when you put that G and D on top like that, and then you have a G and a D here, open strings, you get more of the effect of what's known as a power chord, which are just root 5th chords, and we're going to get more into those later. Okay, this example is like a straight rock, sort of in the style of The Who, AC/DC, Judas Priest, something like that. Important aspect of this rhythm part is that I leave a lot of space between the chords, as you will see. I'll hit a chord right on the downbeat of 1 and then leave space for the whole rest of the bar, which sets up the power of the next chords as they come in the following bar. So leaving space can be a very effective way to create a powerful rock-style rhythm guitar part. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, here's another example where I'm going to leave space in between the chords to make the rhythm guitar part sound more dramatic. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's another little deviation I did here on the G chord. As I explained in the last example, I fretted the top 2 strings with the pinky and ring finger to get a G and a D note, along with the G and the D open. What I did in playing this example was, you could see me lift my index finger off the 2nd fret of the A string, and I'm getting the sound of a G power chord when I do that. So instead of getting this fretted note, this B note, 2nd fret of the A string in the chord, I lean my middle finger back a little bit as I'm fretting in order to mute the A string. So now all I'm hearing is this. Just G's and D's, and that's a G power chord right there. So it's a much punchier sound, much more rock kind of a sound. In this example, I'm utilizing yet another strumming pattern. What I'm doing here is I've got a dotted 8th strum followed by a 16th. And what happens with this strum is I'll do a downstroke on the downbeat, and the chord holds for 3 16th notes. 1 E and A. So that last 16th note is an upstroke. 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a 2. Like that. 1 E and a 2. 3 and a 4, like that. And there'll be one other thing that's different about this example. When I'm playing my F chord, I'm going to alter the chord slightly by taking my middle finger off the chord. And the sound you get when you do that is known as a sus2 chord, or suspended second. And the reason for that is because this G note is the 2nd note or scale degree in the key of F. So if you played an F major scale, and we're going to get into scales later, F is the root note, that's 1, G is the 2nd note, the 2nd, A is the 3rd note, the 3rd, major 3rd. We're replacing that major 3rd with the 2nd. We have a root note and the 2nd, they ring at the same time. And the name for that is a suspended second. So when we go from this, straight F major, and take the middle finger off, You have F sus2. It's a nice sounding chord. All right, here's the example. 1, 2, 3, 4.